Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening.
Welcome to the talk this evening, hosted by GM6NX. I'd like to welcome you to this talk this evening. It's going to be a brief talk, rattle through what happened with J20DX last April. With me tonight, we've got Col, MM0NDX. Say hello, Colin.
Hello, everyone. Good evening, afternoon, morning.
And Christian, EA3NT in the background. Hello to you, Christian. How's it going?
Hello there. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining.
Now, hang on a minute, just while I add the screen here and get this all squared away. Here we go. Excellent. So this is a series of talks that have been hosted by Stirling District Amateur Radio Society, GM6NX. We've had two talks previous to this, one on the historical researching of call signs and the history of GM6NX. And the second talk was by Bob, MM0MMQ, on 3D printers and how relevant they are to the hobby. Both great talks, and both stored away there on our YouTube channel if you want to check them out. The format of this talk this evening, pretty informal, chatty kind of show of a bunch of pictures and the crazy wild goose chase we were set on pretty much as soon as we landed in Djibouti. Be about 45 minutes talking amongst ourselves, and we'll take some questions at the end through the chat channel. It'll be pretty tricky to take any questions through it, so if you can hang off until the end, we'll take some questions at the end. Okay, guys, here we go. So, why did J20DX fail? So, a plethora of reasons, really. Took place last year, April 15th to 20th, 2019. Myself, Christian, and Col planned it for about 5 or 6 months. I think it was about that, wasn't it, guys?
Yeah.
Pretty intensive bunch of planning. Just a really lightweight IOTA-based expedition we wanted to do. No frills, no fundraising, no financial support, none of that. We just wanted to go out there, experience the country, combine it with a bit of radio, and focus on 2 IOTA there that we see in the slides here. 59, which I think was the rarer of the 2, if I'm right. I think that was maybe, I think it was like 19% claimed on IOTA, and 53. That's I think that's fairly well visited. I think that was about 50-odd% claimed on IOTA. But still, 59 was a real challenge for us. It was you know, quite a tough, gritty one to get to in itself. 53 much easier. It was just off the coast there of Djibouti City, as you can see in the map.
As you go find out.
Yeah. So, Col, chat around this.
Yeah, this is the most wanted broken down for Djibouti. This was taken or done last year, so it's possibly a slight change in some of the most wanted. But when we first did this, we were kind of amazed. For example, the West Coast, number 9 most wanted. Now, when you compare entities such as Bouvet or Marion Island, they're actually not as wanted West Coast as Djibouti. So it showed then just exactly the pile-ups we could have had if the propagation was there, and obviously if you had got on the radio. But, basically, it was just an SSB CW breakdown. And as you can see yourself, you know, it's pretty wanted all the way through until the last couple into Europe. So to this day, it's still very wanted. Back to you, Jono.
Cool. So here we are, a motley crew, myself on the left, and our fixer, which we quickly renamed the Gangster, really, and you'll see throughout the talk how that becomes pretty clear. Yeah, we made contact with Moose. It was you, Cole, that made contact with him quite early doors, really, through pretty deep Google search.
Made contact with him just after Christmas 2018, and we kept in touch basically up until we arrived. But yeah, he seemed or appeared to be a helpful individual. But as John will explain, he was the opposite.
Yeah, very friendly guy at first thought, first sight. Anyway, quite skipping ahead here. So Christian, the group really was split. Christian went out before us. He headed out on the Saturday. We weren't due to fly out until the Monday. So it was kind of cool for me and Colin that we could sit back at home and keep in touch with Christian on WhatsApp, just to see how he got on. How did he get through customs? What was the hotel like? What was the noise like at the QTH? All the things we all die to know when we go to a new QTH to play radio. So Christian, tell us about your wee trip over there. How did you get on?
Well, I had really no issues. I flew over Paris, then directly to Djibouti, and actually no problems at all connections well. And then when I arrived to Djibouti, it was around about 10 o'clock in the morning, and the plane was full. And we went through first the passport checking. We had to have a e-visa that we previously had to have printed. And I went through, I cleared, and then I picked up my luggage. My luggage was a big suitcase with clothes, my radios, all the stuff in it, a little backpack, which I had hand carried. Then I had my K3, and then fishing rods bag, which contained the antennas and wires and, well, some stuff that I had to bring. So I picked everything up, all the luggage, and then I went through customs, and they made me open the luggage as anyone else. They were checking everybody. And the lady saw a coax cable rolled inside the luggage, the suitcase, and she said, is this gonna stay here or you're taking it back? And I said, no, it's mine. I will use it and take it back. She hesitated a bit, but okay, you can close and go. So no problem. I was picked up by the hotel where we were staying in. And then in the hotel, I informed that I had the intention to set up a little antenna, nothing really big or serious, just to stay these 2 days. As I was going to be alone in the hotel, I would set it up and check the propagation. Basically, I wanted to stay 24 hours or as much as possible to check the bands and propagation from Djibouti in order to know every time where we should be. So the people in the hotel were helpful. They said, okay, do you have the license? Yes, here is the license. We got in advance a while, 1 year in advance. And I set up a little rod with a little pole, with a G5RB antenna. You see nothing, it's a dipole. And that's it. And then the K3 and the amplifier, I think I took. So I started working the X, easy, thinking I will be fed up of the Xing in the next 5 days or 10 days. So I will relax now and I will meet some friends and do some sketches. Oh, I need this, I need that. Okay, easy. And basically worked 17 meters were the most active bands, because on lower bands there was a power station which caused really high S9 plus QRM, And I
Oh,
must
is
say,
that why you've got such high noise there on the input level of your FT?
that's 17, but yes. I mean, the noise was in all bands, and I must say that despite the bad comments that FT8 or the bad reputation that FT8 has, I am really, I like this mode because it listens through the noise. It goes. I mean, even though there is a S9 signal of QRM, the signals come through. And the fact is that on 80 meters, I was not going to, stay for a minute, but I gave a try because one of my friends asked me, "Oh, go, okay." So I worked Spain, I worked France, I worked Italy. They were all big signals, and suddenly Brazil on 80 meters, and suddenly an American kilo one something, I don't remember the call sign, but USA, and I on CW I couldn't hear anything at all. So that works. FT8 works. So that's what I did. I set up the radio. Nobody got paranoid. Everything fine. And even prepared on Monday when the day you arrived, all the stuff packed in the boat that we were meant to take. So I helped the guys, local guys, to pack everything, all the stuff, food, gasoline, well, everything was ready. Yeah. So this is my little activity there in Djibouti as J20 November Tango.
And how many QSOs did you work from the hotel?
Around about 400 or 500, I don't remember, something like that.
Oh, pretty good. So you can imagine we're on WhatsApp with Christian, really excited that the customs was a breeze, hotel's great, and he's working radio. Everything's looking good, other than the noise, which we weren't that concerned about because we weren't going to be staying there anyway. Djibouti, history in a slide, just as a bit of background here. It's a really fascinating little country. And it only became more fascinating once I got home, actually, and dug into it. So it's got a really, really deep history back to the Neolithic period. And it's been referenced as God's land, or Punt, as it was called in the 24th century. And the picture up here on the top right-hand side is a picture of all the European high flyers and the colonial leaders that took part in a conference in Berlin in 1885. And this conference became called the Scramble for Africa. And when you actually look into it, it's really, really embarrassing and sickening how the European countries basically ran over to Africa and decided amongst themselves who's getting what, which country they're getting. And they had a wee fight over it for a couple of years, and they carved Africa up. So 10% of Africa before that conference was only owned by the European Union or European countries. After that conference, 90% of Africa became owned by the European Union countries, which is, a little bit embarrassing, you might say. Since then, the French have had a heavy influence in the whole region, and it was really a combination of Somaliland and Djibouti when they first got their hands on it. And interestingly enough, the Russians tried their first overseas takeover in 1889, which was quite interesting. They sent over a wee party of infantry, a priest, a bunch of boats, and some civilians, and they tried to stake claim to Djibouti. They were quickly chased out by the locals, and that is Russia's first endeavor into taking over a foreign country. And then Djibouti became independent through 58, and then finally again in 97, and it became a republic in 81 with lots of interesting tales about deportation of thousands of Somalis before votes and general elections, etc., to get in the leader of their choice. So yeah, quite an interesting history. Present day, again, very, very fascinating setup in Djibouti. I had no idea until I came home, really. And in a nutshell, Djibouti is basically a Chinese strategic base. It seems to be run financed and controlled quite heavily by China. It's got Africa's deepest port, which was built and financed fully by the Chinese. And of course, that port, 70% of Ethiopia's trade goes through that port. And you can see on the map in the slide here the new railway line that was financed and built by the Chinese all the way to Addis Ababa. And you can see this Chinese super port up here, right next to China's military base, which you can see being opened here in the bottom of the screen. So it's a real kind of landing pad for a lot of countries. Into the mix, you've also got a US Air Base based at Camp Le Monnier, which is on the south side of the international airport. And you can see that when you land. I had no idea it was so big as it is. 4,000 troops. And they have a full drone deployment there, apparently, at Shebele Airfield, which is further outside of town. And the final fact of the day about Djibouti is really the data center that's here. I couldn't find a picture of it, but apparently the whole of Yemen and Ethiopia's internet is based in this tiny little building in this back street. Yeah, Ethiopia and Yemen's the internet.
All right.
It's, you know,
well, actually, I see.
Place.
Sorry, we were very close to it. The hotel was really close to it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, not too far, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you heard about Christian's trip. We had a slightly different trip, a bit more broken trip, through from Edinburgh to Stockholm with SAS. A good few hours stopover in the airport there. We met up with Bjorn, Sugar Mike Zero Mike Delta Golf, who's the owner of Pileup DX. We had a beer with him, and what is the most expensive burger I've ever experienced in my life, 27 euros for a burger. So that was a burn. So thanks for that, Bjorn. That was his idea to do that. So that burned a hole in my pocket. And then we took the Stockholm-Doha flight with Qatari Airlines, which was a really smooth, very, very smooth affair. Everything on time, I think, if I remember right, Col.
Yeah, all fine. Mm-hmm.
So the plan for the trip was as follows, really. Basic land, meet Christian, and hit the road out to Africa 59. So we were due to land at around about midday local time on the Monday. Christian was meeting us at the airport with Musa, the gangster. Mm-hmm. And we were literally heading from the airport straight down to the port where the boats were already packed up, as Christian said there. I mean, he witnessed everything was in the boat, ready to go, organized tents, food, chef, everything ready to go.
So at that moment, he wasn't a gangster. I mean, I really thought that he had done a good job.
I know. No, absolutely no. I'm being unfair to him. Yeah, he did a good job to start with. That's right. So a quick hop across the Bay of Tajura in a boat to Obok. And there we were going to pick up a large generator and then travel over via road on 4x4 up to Korangor, which is right on the coast, very remote kind of sort of little village really, and we were going to overnight camp there.
Just a historical fact, Obok used to be the capital city of Djibouti years and years ago. But obviously now it's just Djibouti city is the capital.
That's right, and that's actually where the Russians tried to muscle in and take over before they were kicked out. So overnight on Monday night, and then first thing Tuesday morning, the plan was to hit the boat again straight over to Africa 59. It's a real short journey. I think it's like 4 kilometers across offshore into the Straits of Mandeb, which is pretty close to Yemen. You can just see Yemen poking out there in the top right corner. And we were to be on the island, Africa 59, until pretty much Thursday evening, late Thursday evening. We'd got a cook, tents, everything organized, good to go. We were just going to hammer the radio until Thursday night. Then we were going to go back on mainland, spend the night, basically the reverse. Night overnight at Korangor, back to Djibouti city by 4x4. in preparation for Africa 53, which would have been a doddle compared to 59.
Mm-hmm.
So quite well planned. It was all in place, solid. And then Saturday evening, we were back to the mainland from 53 with a midnight flight home. Used a few wee funky little apps for tracking. One is called Follow Me, which is a smartphone app, which worked really well based on 3G/4G connectivity and Wi-Fi. And then the Spot Me for tracking, which didn't work quite so well, which was really weird, wasn't it?
Looking back, the Spot tracker did not work as well as the Follow Me app. But that might be to do with the fact the data center was nearby.
Yeah. So Africa 59, real close off from the coastline, 4 kilometers off. It's a collection of 7 islands, hence the Sept Frères French descriptor there.
Mm.
Really fascinating, volcanic, little emergent islands. Really gutted I never got to see them. So we'd separated out the main island as really the QTH of choice, and it was one of these 2 landing points that we were going to discuss with the boatman as to which one we would choose. Nice sandy landing, pretty good takeoff. Ideally, we would like to have been on this north shore here, but it's too steep and it's rock straight into the sea, so not ideal for antennas and sleeping in tents.
Called Kada Dabali. His island name, Kada Dabali. And I just checked the OTA directory, and it's 15% claimed Africa 59.
Okay. Africa 53, idyllic looking place, and actually it is when you go there. It's a beautiful place, and it's a dead coral island. Actually, again, really fascinating natural landscape. Split into 2, Miscali and Musha. And here's Musha Island, and the circled little hut there, and this kind of tourist landing point was actually the hut that we ended up briefly, and I stress briefly, using as a shack. So very, very frustrating. You can see it's an ideal location, really. So the plan in terms of equipment, again, really lightweight, agile kind of gear, no amplifiers, nothing. ICOM 7000 K3 and a 991. All wire, quarter wave dipoles, verticals, nothing simple. Keep it simple. We just wanted to keep everything real simple. It worked well in Echo Lima when we went, so why change it? And of course, we had an official license from Djibouti Telecoms. That was in place pretty quickly. And these seemed also slick and efficient, really. So, like a plane picture. So this is Edinburgh Airport, Hainan Airlines, quite a good one, good spot that one. And this is our little 737 that took us to Stockholm in the top there. We're on our way. Cole's a wee sleepy thing. He don't hang around. It's not long before he's off sleeping. And this was quite a funny fella at Stockholm Airport. This guy thought he was really, now this is very Scottish specific. So if you're not au fait with the Scottish urban lingo, you might want to go and check out the link that I've included in the thing down here. Look it up on the urbandictionary.com. But this guy behind us in the queue was a real kind of, he was a man. He thought he was just the bee's knees, And he had this interesting coat on that had a logo on it called Dobber. Now, for all you Scottish folk out there that are watching, there's various different urban descriptions of what a dobber is. Just go and check it out if you're not from around here. It's really interesting because this guy thought he was, something else. I had no idea what dobber meant, so that was quite interesting. It was quite a challenge to get a photo of him without him actually noticing. So that was 20 minutes of fun and laughter. Anyway. So we're on our way finally, yeah. Sunrise approaching Doha, I think.
back.
Not showing.
No.
My sweet video showing here. Why is it not coming through?
Don't see it.
Oh no. That's no good. I'll have no idea why that's not showing. We tested this before, did we not? There we go.
Yeah.
So forget the plane. I think was it a Dreamliner? I think we were on, wasn't it, Col? Yeah, and they've got these really nice seat back wee monitors that have got live feeds from the underbelly of the plane, landing gear, the tail fin, the wingtips, and just great to play with that stuff. I'm just a big kid really when it comes to all this stuff. So I was fiddling around with this multimedia console thing. It was really cool, and it was just great at the end of a long flight just to watch. You don't get to see this, unless you're sitting in the cockpit, so it's cool. Do you get any funky stuff like this on your plane, Christian, on the way over now?
Yes, we did.
You're a bit more grown up than me, I think, though.
I think from memory.
No, I was during the flight. I met quite an interesting man who had been. A man who had been to Djibouti for a few times before. He was a professor, botanic and naturalist, and he asked me to do some bird watching on the islands. And if you can see something, send me an email or take a photo of them and send the photo. Fortunately.
I know a lot of you have seen all this stuff before from different flights and planes. I'm sure you've all ridden around, but it's still quite cool to see. Passes the time away on the flight. I remember it being a really smooth landing. In stark contrast to the landing we had at Djibouti, which you'll see in a minute. We landed. Doha, piece of cake, no problems. Another nice, interesting plane there. LATAM Airlines parked up next to our gate, which was quite cool. And this bit started to really shape up good. There's like 10 people in the checkout, in the check-in at the gate, and we thought, oh great, it's going to be really quiet. We're going to get full row seats, crash out for a couple of hours, get some sleep. Happy days, it'd be great. Doha. Take off from Doha. Really mad place. So over-engineered, it's just unbelievable. Anyway, you get the deal. So, fast forward to Djibouti. The landing at Doha was real smooth. It was beautiful. This was a nightmare. I think the pilot had brought his teenage son in the cockpit and let him have a shot to land this plane. It was a shocker of a landing. So you can probably just see in the distance the super port that the Chinese built here, massive big thing, and part two of it over here, looking north.
It's actually the Gulf of Djibouti, isn't it? Distance.
See the National Football Stadium here. Interestingly, nice, well irrigated grass.
Nice big pitch there.
I mean, for the plane geeks amongst you, it was a really smooth approach. There was no wind, no crosswind, nothing. It was very, very smooth. And then this.
Cool.
Oh, shocker. Not cool.
Yeah, just slammed that.
That was not a cool landing. That was not a nice arrival at Djibouti at all. Anyway, so here we go. We land. We sneak a few photos of the apron there, even though the signs everywhere saying don't. And it's a cool kind of system they've got, Djibouti, actually. And it gives you this false sense of security. You think, oh, these are really great. Sort of super digital nation, slick, efficient. You put your application in online, and within about 3 hours, bang, your e-visa's back in your email inbox. I think it's like 15 quid or something like that, real slick. You think, oh, these guys are sorted. I know what they're doing, you know? And then this. So, this is where it really, everything's smooth to here. Beautiful. From here on, the whole thing goes to shit. Absolutely goes to shit. So Christian's arrived. Christian, you've arrived. You take it away for a few seconds. Describe the situation here.
Yeah, well, I was with Musa, with our guide. I could even enter to this room while you were queuing up at the passport line before picking up the luggage. And then I saw you through the doors, and you were queuing up. And I saw Cole the last in the row, in the queue. And then you cleared the passport, John, and went through there. Then we met. I helped you picking up your luggage.
Yeah, it's important to say here as well that, you know, all the bags arrived. Everything arrived perfectly, you know, nothing missing. And
while we were waiting for all the luggage to arrive, Cole was queuing up as he was the last one, and when he got sorted, we were ready. But all the bunch of people that arrived in that plane had already left, so we were the last ones of the last ones to go through the customs. And then
then we got snagged. Basically, they demanded that everything go through the scanner. There was only a small fraction of people's stuff going through before us that actually were forced to go through the scanner. They made all our stuff go through the scanner, and they saw all the stuff in there, opened the bags, and then just had a field day. They said, what's that? What's that? What's that? What's that? What the hell is that? What the fuck is that? Etc., etc. And they just pulled everything apart and said, no, you're not taking that. What's this? And Musa, in his defense, he tried his real best here to kind of diffuse the situation. He tried to have a
but he didn't expect that. He was not expecting that at all.
No.
He basically took everything off us. I think from memory, I don't think I had a toothbrush.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they kept all our bags here in this kind of U-shaped thing here. They just left all our bags dumped there and said, right, you're not getting them, off you go. See you later. And we were like, well, you know, can we at least get some clothes and, you know, wash bags and, you know, other bits and bobs? And they were like, okay, take some stuff out, but all this stuff you do not touch, you don't touch. And Musa was going crazy at these guys, you know, and I think, I don't know, Christian, it seemed to me like he was trying to come to an agreement, a financial agreement with the guys.
Try to pay them.
I don't know. It's hard to say. I really did not feel like this. I think that he lacked that. He lacked probably previous experience from other people, and if he had the experience, probably he would have faced on a different way those people.
Okay.
But he was really, you know, everything was new to him at that particular point.
Okay.
So he had everything ready, everything ready. Sorry, but not this thing ready, particularly this thing.
I think also what made it worse is that whole room was completely covered in CCTV cameras. And the guy that Musa was talking to was like, "Don't even talk to me about money." And I think he could sense, the cameras were on him. So we were in total shock, by this point. Everything had gone so smooth until this point, and this is where the wild goose chase started, really, from here on in, really.
However, despite the cameras, because of the fact we were alone in this room at that moment, but everybody, as we have been told afterwards, everybody goes through customs, sneaking in some dollars, some cash. So, we were new to that.
Yeah, so the wild goose chase begins. So the customs take all our equipment and say you can't get it back until you get some kind of letter of authorization. So we quickly reform a plan. I stay with the bags, naively thinking, this is me looking after the bags. But to be honest, the guys weren't even interested in the bags. They were safe, they were locked. But as a Westerner, you just feel this need to stay with your bags all the time. And Christian and Cole just went on this wild goose chase around town to visit various different offices. I forget where you went first. Was it the customs office first, and then?
Yes, at the airport, the customs officer, the main guy at the airport, said, "No, I cannot let you go through. You must go first to the customs office, central customs office in Djibouti downtown, and clear it with my boss." Okay, so Cole and I took the taxi, took the car, and went to the customs house in Djibouti downtown. Then we met the first guy, who was the boss of this guy at the airport. And look, we have got this problem. I tried to explain to him, and he said, "Oh," he was like, "Wow, this is." He didn't want to take any responsibility, and then he said, "No, go to my boss on that other office." Okay, so we went, explained again the situation. We are tourists coming here for a few days. Same story, amateur radio, we've got the license, we've got everything. And we have been stopped at customs at the airport. The customs officer, the main customs officer, the big boss of customs in Djibouti said, "Oh, this is something, of course, I cannot let you go through because must be checked by the Sécurité Nationale, the national security, which is a kind of department of Ministry of, how do you call it? Police or intelligence, kind of intelligence." Okay, so we took everything and went to the building in the other part of Djibouti of the Sécurité Nationale. We met a lady after asking, and we explained again the situation. She said, "Oh, you must make a form. You must fill up a form." What was it? We had to go to a
notary, a public notary.
A notary, that's it. A notary, and explain what we had, and then they would study this. And after some time, they would tell us something. They took us our telephone number, and they would ring us. So meanwhile, you can go to the hotel and wait. So we did. We went to the airport, went to pick you up at the airport. When I went to the port to pick all the luggage I had in there waiting, and then I met you in the hotel.
Yeah.
So,
but there was not the scam. You met the guy at the iPhone scam. The guy, the customs Catman, we called him. That was your first introduction.
Yes.
Hello.
It's going cut. Come back.
Yeah.
Juno?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. So yes, at the Sécurité Nationale, there was a guy at the gate, and he was like, "Oh, I will help you," and then talking to our guide in their language, I will help you. Of course, he was trying to scam us and get as much as he could. He knew that we had the money. He knew that we were in a hurry, and he knew he could scam us easily. So he wanted first some cat, which is this kind of not drug. Yes.
Oh, it is a drug. It sounds
Well,
like chewing coca leaves. Yeah.
Local drug called cat. He wanted first a bunch of cat. All this we didn't know anything because they were talking between the tour guide and himself. So we were like, what's going on? Okay. And then we see the tour guide going to buy, I need money from you. Give me 1,000, what was the currency? 1,000 franc. Okay. What do you want it for? No, it's for the guy there that will help us. Okay. There you are, 1,000. Okay, after a while, no, I need another 1,000. Why? Oh, because he wants to bring it in person. So you got it. And it worked like that. We were paying.
And then his phone, the trick with his phone, yeah, don't forget that story.
Oh, yeah, of course. When he met us for first time, we were next to the car. So when we were going to shake hands, he was holding his telephone, an old iPhone, a very old iPhone. He was holding in his hand. And when he pretended to shake hands with me, actually, it was with me, he just left the telephone, right? Because he wanted to shake hands with me. And boom, the telephone dropped down. And then the guy starts like, look what you did. It was obviously a very old iPhone, but it's very broken. You see, the screen is broken. You have to pay for me. You have dropped it. You have broken it. You have to pay for me. And I said, what? I am not paying you anything more. You have already what you wanted. I am not paying you anything. So I don't know. I got really mad with that situation because I was really feeling that the guy was laughing at us. And I don't know if in the end we paid him or not for that. I don't remember.
He was paid. I paid him because at the time we assumed he was still going to help us, and we thought by not paying him, we're
probably gonna stop.
Nothing else.
Yeah.
So first scam, the letter's in. We just got to wait for the authorization from the national security. So back to the hotel. Luckily, the hotel was this oasis. It was a really nice little place, very professionally run. Highly recommend it. If anybody's going there, stay there. The people are really nice. They looked after us so well. Immaculately clean. Surrounded by this, which is a real contrast. It's the incredible contrast, really, when you looked out of your room and the adjacent plots next to it were just scrap yards and water processing plants and hives of activity, and then this beautiful kind of auberge. So Monday was a weird day. It was a real mix of emotions. So Tuesday morning, into town for a look around, still waiting for the letter, waiting for the authorization. All the time we're kind of plan B, thinking what we can do. Christian mentioned cat, and cat's a really interesting kind of phenomenon in a lot of these Eastern Arabian, North African countries. All the guys seem to chew it, and it's legal there, and it's a flowering plant that they chew. They dry it and they chew it into this kind of mash in the mouth. So it's very similar to what they chew in South America, the coca leaves in South America. But the Catha edulis, which is cat, is like it's an amphetamine derivative. So it gives you a constant feeling of euphoria and of constant feeling of 100 miles an hour. Everything's like running really fast. So everybody's trading in this stuff. And you see these shops everywhere. So this is a real fascinating little shop here. There's a tire repair tire repair place here, and it's also selling different sizes of bunches of cat. And these are the guys here chewing it. It's just everywhere, and you get these kind of nondescript kind of stalls that are just all over the streets through the city that are covered up. The plants are covered because apparently if the sun gets to the plants once they're dried, the effect of the cat wears off. It's not as potent.
Yeah.
So there's women's selling this stuff everywhere, and it played a role in Musa, the gangster, the fixer guy, and how he was negotiating to get our authorization. Catman, we called the guy on the gate Catman because he wanted cat. That's what he was called, and it's a real kind of interesting stuff. So Tuesday lunchtime, we decided we'd go to a Yemeni restaurant. We'd been advised to go here, and the food was amazing. It really was very special. The food, fish, purely fish.
Oh, now I see the juice. Remember the juice?
Yeah, the fresh orange juice was amazing, wasn't it? It really was very special. All the time we're wondering, is this letter going to come? Is this letter going to come? But the whole time, the whole cluster thing, social media things going absolutely crazy. All sorts of tweets and spots and fake news this, fake news that, culminating in Colin being arrested by Djibouti security forces, which was an interesting one. I'm sure somebody said that you'd actually died or something as well, wasn't it? I couldn't find that one.
Silent Key.
Silent Key, that's it. Brilliant. Most of the guys really, genuine, concerned. Oh, I hope you're okay, guys. Blah blah blah. The one of note really that kind of really irritated us more than anything was a local station, J28PJ, who was a French national. He lives out there. We were in a bit of a predicament. We were in a sticky situation, and we could have done with a bit of local help, really, to be honest. And we did reach out to him. We tried to email him. And I think, did you Facebook him as well, Colin? I can't remember.
Yeah.
We just got stonewall. There was no response from this guy at all. And that was pretty disappointing. Not ham-spirited at all. So, yeah, that's the word of warning, really, when you see that call sign. Or
on another day, we actually saw his GTH, and it wasn't that far from where we were.
That's right.
I think we did have thoughts at the time to cut
Ding
some.
dong his bell.
Decided not to.
Yeah. So Tuesday, we weren't supposed to be in the hotel by this point, and it's not a particularly cheap hotel. So we thought we're going to change QTH. We're going to find a cheaper place down by the sea as a backup in case the islands don't work. We can always use Christian's radio gear. He had gear with him. We could put a really, really basic station on air.
I must say that from the moment we started having problems, the guy in the hotel told me, stop, you must put the antenna down until you don't have clear now your situation. So
that's true.
I said, no, I was cleared. I am fine. I can continue. No, you cannot. You have to put down. You cannot have your antenna on the roof. You cannot transmit from here. Basically, because in Djibouti, everybody knows everybody. So he didn't want to have any further problems with us. So, okay, we kind of understood. And that's another reason why we were looking for a second place to stay.
Yeah, true. So in kind of desperation, we went to visit Mohammed, who was the top bod at Djibouti Telecom that issued the license. It was just around the corner from the hotel. Really great guy, very, very helpful, and was utterly, disgusted that we've had our gear taken off us. And he made some calls, really tried hard to help us out. I think did all he could. And he said, leave it with me. I'll make some more calls. I'll call you tomorrow. So, again, wait. Big waiting game, really. This is Tuesday afternoon now. So we found this QTH to go and see, and with just a few local sites outside the QTH we've got planned. Nice wee kind of Toyota Land Cruiser with Kodan Auto tuning, whip antenna on it. I think that was a World Food Programme truck. It was quite cool. So we had a quick nosy in that, like we kids. That's cool. And you can see it's pretty standard kind of QTHs down here, you know, with the barbed wire on the top wall. So, yeah. So Wednesday morning. Oh, no, actually, no, we need to go back up. Rushing ahead. So the QTH, the alternative QTH we tried to find was full. So back up into town, minibus with Musa. And we decided, right, well, let's go and have a sit down in the town square. We'll get a coffee and we'll take stock. We'll replan things. And the minute we arrived in the local square, in the town centre, Musa basically was pounced on by about 5 policemen, put in handcuffs and thrown in this. It was like an animal cell. It was like a metal cage, a mobile metal cage, on the back of a truck.
I remember the image. He was like caught like this from the back. The police caught him from the back and pulled him back and just sent him to the cage. It was a cage in the middle of the square.
And it was like a public parade. This cage was there for a purpose. This guy was a bad guy. Bang, in the cage he went, and everybody was going to see him in this cage as a public shaming exercise. It was just bizarre, and we were just like stunned.
Yeah.
So
absolutely stunned. This is our guide arrested.
Arrested.
Oh my God. So we stood there for maybe 10 or 15 minutes, and we could see that there was an old guy came down. He was talking to this guy through the cage, and he must have known this old guy, and eventually, through sort of to and fro and negotiation, he got out of this cage. We let him out, but there was lots of swearing and shouting and all this stuff going on. But Musa did not want to come over and talk to us. He was ashamed. He was totally mortified, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the whole dynamic of the relationship completely changed with us. Then we were like, "What is this guy? Who is he? What's going on here? Why are they after him?" You know, it was just questions. So we headed back to the hotel in total shock. Again, I'm thinking, right, we've lost the guide. We've got no authorization. We've got no gear. Right, things are not going quite well. Yeah, not very well at all. So Wednesday morning, he gets a call from Mohammed from Djibouti Telecom. And he's made some calls and he's discovered the fact that we've got drones in our bags. And we were like, okay, a drone, right. Funny looking drone. So we'd actually got 12 volt and 5 volt USB fans to cool us, okay? And the Djibouti customs were so paranoid that they thought these fans were actually drones. And this had now become escalated to the highest level. It had gone to the sort of top bod in the presidential office, in national security. It had gone all the way to the top. So it was way out of control. So we called Musa over that next morning, and he was a bit more kind of talkative then. But there was no option but to just terminate relationships with him. It wasn't going to work.
We had decided, I think the night before, we decided that we did not need any more hassle from Musa, the fixer guy. So I think we all agreed just to sack him on the spot, give him his money and just go. And from there in, we're on our own.
And he knew it was time. He knew his cards were played. There was no way further for him to go. You know, he was done. The relationship had been blown away. So Africa 59 written off. Plans to just concentrate now on Africa 53. If we could use Christian's equipment and make a couple of day trips out to 53, really as a make the best of a shit situation. Yeah, so 53 disappeared, and that was gutting, really, to be honest, because that's the one we really wanted, you know. But anyway, 53 was still on the cards. So these two crazy fools, Christian and Cole, always planning and scheming tricks up, decided, let's go down to the Somaliland diplomatic mission. It's in the town. Let's go and have a conversation down there, see if we can get some permission to go into Somaliland.
We passed by.
Like, what?
We passed by. We were walking. Oh, look, Somaliland flag. Oh, look,
yeah.
the embassy. Sure, let's get in. Let's say hi.
Yeah. Sure. And so that was an interesting couple of hours in there. We were welcomed in, and these two tried to negotiate access to Sakadin, which is like an island off the coast of Somaliland. Not Somalia, Somaliland, which is quite a rare iota. And I don't even know how that progressed or if anything came of it, but passed a bit of time away, I suppose.
Still ongoing.
Did anything come of it?
Not so far, no.
Soon.
Right.
More news soon, you have to say. More news soon.
Yeah. Okay. So it's Africa 116, I think that was the thing you were looking at, wasn't it?
Yeah. It's never been
So-
activated.
Yeah, it's very close.
And
It's very close to
frustratingly enough,
Djibouti border.
yeah, it's just across here. It's just where the F is in the Africa here. It's really close, but
Yeah.
anyway, didn't really, I can have to say I haven't really got the appetite even now to do it after this. But anyway, so what happened then? So that was Wednesday afternoon. Thursday morning, we thought, right, let's get down to the pier, the harbour, the local harbour, and we'll start putting some feelers out, see if we can get a boat over to Musha, Africa 53, spend a couple of days over there, get a generator, and let's get on air. Let's do this. Interesting trip down to the harbour. Lots of sort of ramshackle ships and scuttled boats all over the place, and big freighters and all sorts of stuff. It's a real mix of stuff. Here we go with all the gear. Checking the place out. So there's boats all over the place, just disbanded and discarded. So we ran into this lady, this enigma that is Fatima. Here she is. Fatima was kind of like a boss, this kind of godmother of the harbour. Really, she just seemed to control everything, all the movements of boats. She knew everybody. She was just like this thing that floated around the harbour, just overseeing everything. Quickly bumped into her, and she was pretty quick at sorting stuff out, I have to say. Christine did nearly all the negotiation here because she spoke French. Christine speaks really great French. So he did an amazing job, really, to negotiate that. So, yeah, I don't know if you want to just comment on some of the stuff that went down there, but we got a boat, we got a generator, and we went over to the island.
The generator.
The generator was an interesting one. It looked like it had sort of been hit by a truck. And when you started it, it was spewing out 390 volts, which was interesting. So that didn't really get on the boat with the trip for us at all. That was left behind, needless to say. And then, but luckily, again, you know, Fatima, she stepped up. She made the call to the guy on the island on Musha and said, look, have you got power? Yes, we've got power. These guys are coming over. So it looked good. We were good to go.
Yeah.
Everything was arranged. We got the gear. Let's go.
Boat was good.
Boat was good.
Safe
All looked
enough.
pretty modern. Life
Yeah.
jackets supplied. Water on board. Food on board. Let's go for it, you know. So interesting sights. The Djibouti Coast Guard are based there, so there's some quite cool e-boats at the top there. It was interesting, and there was quite a few sets of eyes on us as well. We were getting some attention, so it was interesting. I think it was maybe 40 minutes trip out on the boat, something like that. Very, very fast boat.
We were missing.
Very exciting trip. A really nice Chinese warship there on the distance there.
Oh, that's a serious boat, that. Yeah. They will.
I think you saw the aircraft carrier Charles de Gaulle was also in the vicinity.
Charles de Gaulle was in the background, near the horizon.
Right.
She was coming. It was there.
Yeah.
Yeah. You couldn't see it, and then it quickly came into view, the Musha Island. And interesting, a couple of weeks ago, we received an email from David Flack, AH6HY. It was off the back of Colin's DX World Facebook site, I think. And he said, oh, yeah, interesting you've been there. I was in Musha last year. And I think he seemed to have taken that same boat trip over there. Sounds like a different boat, but he had an absolute nightmare with that boat trip. The engine died on him, floating free in the sea, struggled to make landfall, drifting. The crew had no life jackets. No phone, sat phone, nothing. And it was a real disaster job, you know. And he was waving his T-shirt to a passing tanker, and absolute nightmare.
Yeah.
So that made us think, you know, because we never really gave that a second thought. We checked the boat out and we were happy with it, but we never really thought anything like that.
This comment makes me think that Djibouti is like a coin. You can choose face or tails, tip the coin, and play with it, because everything can go fine or nothing can go fine. I mean, it's Djibouti is like this: face or tails, heads or tails.
Yeah. So Musha, no terrain at all. It's just like a flat, dead coral island, but you know, really quite special place. It's like a dive resort. I think most of the time, expats, tourists go over there for scuba diving. There's all sorts of marine wildlife in there. But it was kind of, I don't know if it was the down season there. It looked kind of half open, half not open. It's kind of. Anyway, so we met the owner, did a deal with the owner about staying in some of these really cool wee shacks, very basic shacks, but they had electricity beds in them. So we thought, yeah, let's do it. Let's take one of those, and everything looked good. And with, you know, moods were high then. Weather was great. We got all the gear. We were up for it, you know.
Ready to go, yeah.
So really special little place. So yeah, we took one of these little chalets.
Yeah,
everything was organised. Right next to the sea, ideal location. Got a power on tap, so it gets cracked into these, you know, a selection of antennas. I think we're putting up a 17-meter vertical dipole, VDA, and I don't even know what else.
No, well, you can see here inside the back, it's the 6-meter antenna. 6-meter antenna also was planned. So I mean. Yeah.
So I'm sure GM4 UIE is in the house. Yeah, that would have been good to make that contact, but not to be. So there's a picture of us building stuff in the shack, keeping out the sun. And that's the only antenna we got up, well, other than Christian's at the hotel, 17-meter vertical dipole. And yeah, I'm pretty sure that would have rock and rolled.
We reckon it would have been probably a really strong signal all over, because the location was just, you know,
surrounded by sea. It was just amazing. Yeah. It really was.
We had everything ready there. Everything was ready.
Yeah. And out of the blue, literally just after I'd taken that photograph of that vertical there, the owner came over and said, "Oh, I've just received a call from my boss on the mainland. The prices needs to go up." And we're like, "We've just agreed this. Don't start any of this bullshit. We just agreed the price. Oh, it needs to go up, my boss, blah, blah, blah." So we're like, yeah, okay, whatever. And then I'm not sure if Christian received the call or if it was on my phone. One of us received a call from Catman back at National Security.
Your phone, I think.
Yeah. So Christian took the call because he speaks French, this guy. And Catman basically was on the phone saying, "Oh, what are you doing on Musha?" And we were like,
he knew.
"Oh my God, how does this guy even know we're on Musha?" You know, we didn't tell anybody really, other than checking out of the hotel and Musa. Nobody really knew. So we were kind of getting a bit paranoid now. We're looking around thinking, is anybody watching? Is there a drone up here? What's going on? Is there a spy on the boat? What's going on here, you know?
Remember the helicopters going over us?
Oh, yeah.
That was paranoid.
It was and that helicopter was definitely buzzing us.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So we're thinking all these things, you know? So the guy said, "You're not authorized to be on Musha. You need to come back immediately, otherwise there'll be trouble." And anyway, I've got the letter here for you to sign. You've received the letter. You need to come back to the mainland now to collect your office to collect your letter to get your things released from customs. So all of a sudden we're in this. Oh my God, we've got the antenna set up. We're here, and now this guy is just toying with us again, and he's trying to force bribe us to go back to the mainland. You know, what on earth do we do here? You know. So there was this sort of 15 minutes of frantic head scratching and discussion of what we're going to do. Do we blow him off?
Even splitting, we were thinking.
That's right. One go back, pick the letter up, 2 guys stay in, and then come back to join. of authorization to release the things from customs, and we decided we're just going to go back to the mainland and get this letter. And in hindsight, I don't know, it was probably a bad move because the guy was bluffing us, he was bullshitting us the whole way.
I mean, the overriding feeling was that we didn't know if we're going to get our equipment back. So I think the best thing was to go back to the mainland with this letter we were promised, take it to the department and in the airport and get the equipment back, and maybe still try and salvage 1 or 2 days of activity. However, it wasn't to be, as John will explain.
Yeah. So we decided to bin it. Right, back to the mainland, packed up real quick, and embarrassingly had to get...
At that time, I phoned the lady, Fatima, and I told her, listen, you have to come back and pick us up. We have to go back ashore. And she said, okay, but the price is double now because of the hurry, because of the rush. You have to pay me again the full trip. What? We agreed. I don't remember how much it was. Let's say 200. We agreed 200 one way, 200 on the way back. When we will pay you when we are back ashore. No, it's not now. It's now 400. You take it or leave it.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
All the time like this.
Yeah, all the time like this, exactly. And that scene of us laying down, sitting in those chairs there, just says it all. We were like utterly exhausted with it. Exhausted, Not really. It's not the heat or the sun that's killing us. We're up for that. No problems all day long. We'll take that. It's just a constant grind of these guys trying to just rip the soul out of you. So we're waiting for the boat coming back. Basically here. Back to the mainland. Tails between our legs. Feeling sorry for ourselves. Written off everything really. But we've still got Friday and Saturday to go. We're in the hotel, so it literally was the longest days of our lives, these 2 days. And we luckily found a wee supermarket around the corner, which is a really good supermarket. But again, there's some real bittersweet memories of this trip. And the thing I like about traveling is you see the quirkiest things in these countries. The quirkiest things. You travel 6,000 miles to Djibouti, and you go in the supermarket and you find a stack of Vimto diluting juice. Now, British people here on this chat or viewers will know Vimto from when we were kids, and it's the last thing you expect to see in Djibouti. And these are just little things that just lift the soul and lift the mood temporarily. Anybody remember this? Answers on a postcard. What year was this? What film is it even?
Terminator.
Yeah, Terminator 2, Judgment Day, 1991. So we bumped into Terminator's wee brother and his wee kids in Djibouti supermarket, which tickled us no end. I thought that was really quite a spooky wee kind of mannequin. Really a Terminator feel to it. Kind of weird, spooky thing. And Christian took a liking to that wee on there. So that was quite cool. Again, just these little moments really lifted us out of the depths of what was a pretty shitty time there. So we just cooked, talked, moaned, just survived the heat and just hid away in our hotel rooms where it was air conditioned. Well, it was like 38 degrees most day. And we just survived and prayed to the departure time, really. And that was on, what was that, Saturday, 11 o'clock, Saturday evening, I think, departure, wasn't it? I think you were a bit earlier before us, weren't you, Christian? You were maybe 2 hours before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we just waited and waited and waited until at last departure time came. And even then, we got to the airport and we're still waiting. Are we going to get our things released from customs? Because we never got the authorization letter. It never came, despite a final visit to the National Security Office. And there was a bit of a showdown there, wasn't there, really? We showed up face to face and we ended up exposing Catman for what he was in front of his bosses. And basically we were basically just chased off the property basically from the national security, weren't we?
From what I remember, there was some raised voices between us and them, and I think looking back, if it had continued, there's a really good chance we would have been arrested ourselves. So I think we just decided to put a line under it and just leave before we really were in prison.
Yeah, but at that moment, I wanted to meet the lady that we met the first day. That she took the file, she took our letter, she took all our official statement. I wanted to meet her, and she was up on the third floor of that building. So we had to first cross the gate, then go across Catman. He didn't want us to go up there. Then we got into the building. They didn't let us go through, but we went into it, and we were like a little, not violent, but not listening to what they were telling us. And I was committed on meeting that lady, and in the end, I think I managed to meet her. She was on the third floor in his office, and I told her, we are still waiting and we must go tomorrow. We have not received anything. Okay, then we will send to your house by DHL or something, she said. she still like pretending that to happen. And then there was an intermediate level guy that was definitely above Catman, and we exposed Catman to that guy. We said that, we told him that we had to pay him this, give him that, all this, all what we went through. But the guy didn't want to, let's say, believe us or get into the problem. And he kind of said, because at the time I said, well, if it's a matter of paying a fee or something, we will pay to get through. We will pay for that fee. And he took it. Are you trying to bribe me or bribe us? You could go to jail by just saying this. I said, no, don't get me wrong. I said, is there a tax and a fee or something that must be paid and we haven't been told? Because we don't know. Go away. I don't want to hear you, because otherwise I will be forced to detain you. Okay, that was when I understood that game was over. Definitely, it was one day before we had to leave. And you were worried, guys, for your luggage at the airport, but I was worried myself for my luggage, my K3, that could go through. So I was a little bit afraid myself of being told that I was spying, or because that country is really living on a paranoid, and it's all spy movies, and I was really worried at that time. Oh, they will stop me at the airport, and what have you in this? What is this? A radio? What? Start getting questions. I was worried.
So we just legged it, basically. We just packed up and left immediately and just gave it up and just prayed that the customs guys at the airport on departure would release it. And in fairness, they did. There was no problems, which was a real relief to us. It went really smoothly, but right to the last minute, still worried, that all your gear is going to get kept. And then I think there was something like 13 checks through the airport to actually get on the plane. Everything checked, scanned, sniffed, scanned. 13 checks we counted until you actually got onto the plane, of your pockets, your hand luggage, everything. Just unbelievable. Christian, you got a nice wee story about sneaking in as military staff as well there through the final scan.
The second last final scan, after having to open again and again my luggage, showing the K3, which is always in my hand luggage. Oh no, this is a radio. Okay, it must go through explosive test. They drop a little dust. They check it is not explosive. Okay, next control, they check for what is it? It's a radio. So just to avoid getting further questions, I saw in the queuing up in the line two military, because of course Djibouti is full of Europeans and American guys. 90%, 95% military, and they go back home or come from home. So I heard talking loudly, as a Spanish would do always, in Spanish, two guys, and they were queuing up. So I went just behind them, and friendly way, I told him, "Hey, finally, nice to meet another Spanish countryman, fellow man." They turned, oh, okay, hi, where are you from? Said, no, I'm from Barcelona. Okay, and then turn back and continue their chat. But at that moment, I was already behind them, and the police or the customs or whoever it was who had to check, they saw me. And when I went through with the radio, open the radio, what is this, a radio? Are you with them, military? Yes, with them, Charlie. Okay, you can close. So I went through and said, goodbye, Djibouti. But then when we were going to the plane, in the landing strip, we had to walk from the building to the plane and then go up the stairs. There was, again, still another check. In the middle of the airstrip, there was a table, and everybody had to open again the luggage. And I said, oh my God, what's going on now? There were dogs. They were chasing, I think, drugs, because the dogs were crazy, up and down. But it was like, come on, we have had already 4 or 5 controls behind, and now it's the last one before going up. This is nuts. Well, when I finally could make it into the plane, into my seat, really, like, it was like, whew, goodbye forever, Djibouti. Yeah. It was like, wow.
Yeah, fly move on tailgate in the military guys. That we'll have to remember that trick. That's a good one. That's a really cool one. Yeah, cool. So we're out of there. We got our gear back, and sort of just really final comments. Really, I mean, that's the end of the whirlwind tour of what was a week of being dragged from pillar to post. So we really, really tried very hard, despite all the failures around us and people try to trick and scam. We just tried to put all plan Bs in place. We absolutely flogged it to death. But we blanked ultimately. We didn't make any QSOs on other than Christian's 400 QSOs before we arrived. And, hands up, it flopped, but not through one to try and. Djibouti is a very, very paranoid sort of state, filled with sort of guys, white collar guys that are power freaks. It is, like Cole says, everybody knows everybody and everybody's on edge at the state.
Yeah.
And, despite having the license, the Djibouti issued telecom license, which is a Ministry of Interior there, don't seem to have any kind of weight or jurisdiction at all with ham radio. The customs guys see and they just look at the license and go, means nothing, So that was disappointing. What was most disappointing is, the lack of ham spirit. That really was really disappointing. I'd like to think the locals around here would, help anybody out that's in trouble, regardless of what it is. You just need to reach out and people will rally around. No, this guy. So beware. Yeah, 13 security checks. That's a first in my time. Comments on the chat if anybody's had more than 13 security checks to get to a plane. And the final question is, would we return? Would I fuck? That is a definite. Excuse my language, but that's not happening. Absolutely not. And we after we got back and the dust settled, we wrote a letter. We just felt we had to write a letter what went on. And we wrote to the president of Djibouti, sent it recorded delivery to his presidential palace, just with the hope that maybe, you should at least know what's going on and how foreigners are received and how they're treated. Really not great. And of course, nothing happened. But it felt good to do it and just to get it off your chest, So there's the letter. Gosh, spent ages writing that and getting the word in like that. Anyway. For the next trip, I had to do 4 Victor 5 hotel this May, but COVID killed that. We wanted to do North Africa 149. So it's kind of penciled, really. It's postponed until we can find another date. If there's any airlines still running or flying any planes, that's the big question right now, I think. So that's pretty much it. We're well over time, but thanks very much for tuning in and listening into the story. That was J20DX. It was ups and downs, full of emotions, and never to be forgotten. I think we'll all, remember that. We'll never forget that. What we'll do is we're happy to take questions through the chat at the end just for 5 or 10 minutes. Yeah. So I don't know if. Let's have a look through.
200 Djibouti francs is 88 pounds, but I said 200 to say something. I don't remember how much we paid for that boat ride, but it was not cheap. If I remember well, it was 200 euros in the change or for one way or something like that, 200 or 300 euros.
500 or something, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was, yeah.
Yeah.
The total cost of this trip, the hotel was expensive. Life there is expensive.
It is. Yeah.
It is. The hotel costs 80 euros per night, something like that.
I think I've got somewhere an email. I've got the entire breakdown of the costs, but right now I don't remember. It was for the 3 of us, something maybe about 12. But that's I can't be 100% sure.
Yeah. Kit's asking, did we speak to the embassy consulate? There's actually no embassy in Djibouti. It's in Addis Ababa. They have like an associate one or an affiliated one. So there's no on the ground embassy staff.
The French consulate. So, and I think it was where that guy works. So we were not expecting any help from the French consulate.
That's right, and I think Cole was suspecting that he was maybe a teacher out there on some sort of sabbatical. I don't know, but
he was.
Yeah,
he worked in the French. This is Japan 28 Papa Juliet. He worked. I think he worked in the embassy as a teacher. I might be wrong, but it was something like that.
Yeah, Willie GM0MZB guessed the film right. It was Terminator 2 Judgment Day 1991. Well done. No more questions.
No more questions. It's all clear.
Any more questions, guys? Well, if you've got any more sort of detailed stuff, you know where to get us. You can contact us, one of us three. You know the routes to get us. So thanks again, guys. Appreciate it. Tune in again for the next talk. We don't know what it is or when it will be, but keep your eye on the channel. And what I will say is, if anybody is looking to do a talk, okay, you don't have to be a member of the club. Get in touch with us. We can do a radio-related talk or a non-radio-related talk. If you've got a different hobby you want to tell people about, let's do it. Last week we had a 3D printing talk, which was great. So get in touch, reach out to us, and we'll see if we can make it happen. Thanks, guys.
One question there. Hang on, there's one more new question.
Oh, sorry.
What we would do differently? I think the answer to that would be don't go.
No, it's not recommendable. Definitely not. Better go to Seychelles or something more pleasant other than this shithole.
Yeah, well, I think, I spoke with GM3YTS, Rob, after it, and he gave me some really great advice, and that was really for next time, you really need to organize a fixer that's associated with the airline. He's used that technique extensively through Africa before, and you can sort all that out in advance, and they can aid you sort of slicken up the customs process a bit easier, I think. So I think we'll need to have that in our back pockets for the next trip in for Victor, possibly. But that's the best advice I had from somebody as to how to do it better next time.
Cool.
Thanks,
There have been
guys.
so much worse, yes, I don't want to think about it.
No. Okay, right, you three. We're off.
Right.
See you later,
See ya.
guys. Thanks for tuning in. Bye-bye.